Today in Focus, deciphering legalese, or attorney speak. There's no reason to pay a lawyer hundreds of dollars an hour to listen to talk that you don't really understand. So to help us understand, we brought in a native speaker, Lexington, Massachusetts attorney, Gina Ghioldi. So you speak lawyer?
I do.
Because I have my English to attorney dictionary, just in case we get in a little bind here. So you're saying the truth is your type are not deliberately trying to confuse us when you're talking to us?
Believe it or not, most attorneys are not deliberately trying to confuse their clients, and they're also not trying to create a scenario where people think that only attorneys can understand the law. It's not true. But we forget sometimes as attorneys, and we go into our language, but everybody can stop and understand what's being said.
But you know what? I mean, to be honest, I think anybody in any profession that has language or words unique to that profession, I think we're all probably guilty of that, you know, so I'll let you off the hook a little bit.
You're making me feel better. Excellent.
So, all right, so what do we do? How do we know what attorneys are talking about?
Well, I think the first thing to do is, as you're sitting down with your attorney, stop them if the legalese becomes overwhelming. If there's a word or a phrase that you don't understand, make sure you stop them and ask. And make sure that you do a little prep work ahead of time so that you've boned up a little bit on some legalese so that you can understand what they're talking about as quickly as possible, because time is money.
Right, absolutely. They're charging by the hour. You want to get spend half your time. Now, what does that mean? All right, well, give us some words, maybe some key ones to focus in on here.
Well, speaking about paying by the hour, I think that one phrase that attorneys use all the time that people don't understand is the term billables. What is a billable? What they're talking about is how they're actually charging you for the time that they're spending. And when they use the term billables, they're talking about the billable hour. How much are they charging you per hour, and what increment of an hour are they actually breaking that out by? Some attorneys charge by a tenth of an hour, which are 6-minute increments, and some attorneys charge by a 15-minute segment, which is a quarter of an hour. So ask. That's one of the things to look for on your fee agreement.
All right, very good. Let's look at some of the other terms here.
Well, some of the other things that you want to look at when you're sitting down with your attorney is understanding when they use phrases like the parties. What does the parties mean? Nobody's having a good time necessarily sitting there in the office, or maybe you are, but the parties are the people involved in the actual lawsuit or in the situation. So that's another phrase to look for and to pay attention to. You'll hear attorneys talking about complaints. Well, is that whining going on in the back room? It might be. But a complaint is actually the lawsuit that is going to be filed or has been filed that you're probably involved in.
All right, 93A claim.
Well, that's something here in Massachusetts that attorneys talk about all the time, and that's the consumer protection law that Massachusetts has. And a lot of times you'll hear attorneys touting about how they want to file a 93A claim. The benefit of that, sometimes you can get your attorney's fees covered and triple your damages.
Well, let me ask you this. As an attorney, do you prefer it when your client has some sort of working knowledge at least of the terms?
I do, and many attorneys do, because again, we're not here to intimidate our client. We want to work together as a team, so it's important to be able to talk the same language, at least to some extent. So an informed client is really an ideal client for us.
But further than that, more broadly speaking, outside of the attorney's office, we could all benefit by knowing some legal terms.
Well, there's legalese in just about everything that we look at on a daily basis. If you are, in fact, buying or selling a house, you're going to be having a deed, you're going to have a mortgage, you open a bank account, you open up an insurance policy.
Right. There's some terms there. Kind of brush through some of the denser ones.
Real property. What is real property? Isn't everything you own real? Well, when we're talking about real property as attorneys, we're talking usually about real estate. Land and the actual buildings that are on the land is what real property is. Show us one of the other terms that you have up there. Tangible and intangible property. We're talking about things that you can hold and touch. Those are tangible properties. Intangible, maybe your investment accounts.
Sure.
Cash is also considered intangible property, which can confuse people.
All right, security interest.
Security interest, that's something that you have to give if you're getting a loan to own something. So when you give a mortgage on your house, you're giving a security interest. If you're signing off on a security interest, you have to make sure you really know what you're talking about.
All right, very good. Then there's a handful there. So talk to your attorney. You know what you should do? A little tip, put these up on your website.
That's a great idea.
How about that?
That's a great idea.
You don't even have to credit me for that idea.
Thank you so
Gina,
much.
it's so nice to see you. Thanks
nice
for this help today.
Too.
You can see this interview and all the day's news while you're there on our website, NECN.com, or the NECN pages of Boston.com, the online home of the Boston Globe.